Okay, so class today, probably use some blocks, maybe. Will be helpful to have them handy just in case. As usual, I'm starting sitting on a block. You can be cross-legged or on your shins, just like this. And we'll take a minute or two to ground ourselves into our seat first, getting prepared for our practice, physically, emotionally. Come here. I feel so bad, I kicked him in the face. So while you are getting comfortable in your seat, settle in with your eyes closed. And we'll start off today with another reading from Pema Chodron. Again, her book, Comfortable with Uncertainty. And hopefully this will resonate with something in not only practice this morning, but day-to-day life, as I like to teach, that hopefully these lessons, we can practice them in our yoga practice. And the more we practice on the mat, these concepts, the easier it'll be, the simpler it'll be to take them through our day-to-day life. So this reading today is called The Wisdom of No Escape. And again, maybe sitting with your eyes closed could help you absorb this a little bit better. And whatever feelings or thoughts or memories arise, just let it happen and just notice where your mind goes right now. The wisdom of no escape. The central question of a warrior's training is not how we avoid uncertainty and fear, but how we relate to discomfort. How do we practice with difficulty, with our emotions, with the unpredictable encounters of an ordinary day? For those of us with a hunger to know the truth, painful emotions are like flags going up saying, "You're stuck." We regard disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, jealousy, and fear as moments that show us where we're holding back, how we're shutting down. Such uncomfortable feelings are messages that tell us to perk up and lean into a situation when we'd rather cave in and back away. When the flag goes up, we have an opportunity. We can stay with our painful emotion instead of spinning out. Staying is how we get the hang of gently catching ourselves when we're about to let resentment harden into blame, righteousness, or alienation. It's also how we keep from smoothing things over by talking ourselves into a sense of relief or inspiration. This is easier said than done. So this passage today caught my eye, mostly related to the practice that I have planned for today, and the sensations we'll probably experience, where I've talked about a little bit before, the difference between pain and discomfort. And this passage encourages us to examine that pain or discomfort and see what we're actually feeling. And oftentimes when we sit with it and we examine it, instead of just running away or doing whatever we can to change the situation, we learn that we're in fact not actually in pain, we're just a little bit uncomfortable. So the more you can sit with that discomfort feeling, you can examine it, become more comfortable, familiar with it, and learn that at the end of the day, it's maybe not actually hurting you. And obviously with your yoga practice, if you are in pain, we modify and we avoid physical pain. But take careful note as to whether or not you're feeling physical pain or emotional pain, such as, wow, this pose is really hard and I don't like it and I want to change it and I want to run away from it and I want to give up. Are you actually in physical pain, or is it your mind, your ego trying to trick you into avoiding that pose? And those are the little gray areas where we can actually grow the most in our practice and then in our day-to-day life. If we learn how to sit with the feeling, examine it, notice maybe it's rooted in a fear or an insecurity. I'm not doing this pose right. It doesn't feel right. Maybe it doesn't look okay. Those are the areas you get to really examine and then grow the most when we can actually overcome the discomfort and learn, okay, if I breathe a little bit deeper, I can settle into this. It doesn't feel so bad. I'm not actually in pain. And again, my hope is always that these lessons can roll over into day-to-day life. It doesn't happen right away. It takes a lot of practice. So I keep coming back to these concepts on my mat so that I practice them here in a safe and controlled place and environment. And then out there in the crazy world, it kind of turns into a muscle memory reaction. Then I can pause, examine the situation, figure out if I'm actually in pain or in harm's way, and then adjust accordingly and most often I've found that I can sit with that emotion. Even if it's anger and sadness, you can sit with that for a little bit longer and reassure yourself that I'm okay. I'm sad, I'm hurt, I'm angry, but I'm not actually in physical pain, harm's way, so I'm okay. And then, like Pema Chodron says, that's the warrior's training. So I hope that idea can resonate with you in your practice today and maybe a little bit in your day-to-day life. So, still in our comfortable seat here, we'll start with just some shoulder shrugs, circles. As you know, my style of practice, I really like these circular organic movements. Don't really have pose names, and that's okay. So I'm just shrugging my shoulders up and then forward, drawing them back, up and around. Sitting nice and tall here. Breathing in and out through the nose. Really exaggerate the shrug up, shoulders towards the ears, and draw them all the way down. And then we'll circle the opposite direction. Couple more times. Shrugging up, releasing down. Okay, and then neutral shoulders. Just take one ear to one shoulder, side to side a couple times. If it serves you here, it might feel nice to actually take a hand and place it on the high side of the head and gently draw it down. Just be really careful to use only a little tiny bit of pressure here, not craning, pulling, pushing, definitely not to the point of pain, but just really, really gentle so we help open up the neck and the traps. Okay, release and a neutral head again. On an inhale, lift both arms up overhead. We'll lift the gaze slightly, and now exhale, face the palms forward, draw the elbows down and back, cactus arms, really lifting the chest high now. Inhaling, lift up, palms face one another again, release that arch in the back slightly, and the exhale, taking it back and wide. You can experiment here with inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Big sigh of relief. It might feel natural and good, it might not. You get to decide. On this exhale though, think about bringing the elbows back really far so our chest and our heart are further forward and we're still gazing upward here. One more. Now release the arms down. We'll cross them in front of our body. Kind of just a hug for yourself. I like to tiptoe my fingers along the back, using that traction to deepen this stretch here for my shoulder blades. My thoracic spine is rounding, and you can let your head hang down, and we'll switch across the other way. Okay, now we'll remove a block if we're sitting on one. Take a half cross-legged seat, so you can have one leg, one knee bent and the foot placed on the floor, the other leg hooked underneath you. No need to get the knee all the way down to the ground. In fact, you can put a block underneath that knee to ease the pressure. And we'll take a hand behind us to start out for balance. We'll lift this top leg, and our goal is to hook our foot inside of the elbow crease. It's kind of a big move since our hips are still cold and not warmed up at all. So if you can start with the hand hooked on the outside of the foot. Again, one hand behind you for balance and support. And then we're just taking that top leg back and forth. We can take circles, drawing it in and out. If you can get this foot into the hook of your elbow, will look just like this, kind of smaller circles, a little bit in and out. You're also welcome to take this back hand and also hook the knee into the elbow, but again, this is a big move for having cold, stiff hips so far. So you get to keep that foot pretty far away if that serves your hips a little bit better. So if you've been doing circles, switch to circle the opposite direction. Just getting some blood flowing in the hip and the knee. And now we'll take this block to the side, hook this top foot on the outside of that bottom knee, and we'll take a seated twist. So make sure here both sit bones are pressing down onto the mat. What we don't want is our sit bone on top of that bottom foot. So move that foot out of the way, trying to press both sit bones down. And you'll notice I'm using my arm to hug this knee in close to my body here, and then we'll twist and look over the opposite shoulder. So here in this twist, we're thinking about inhaling and growing taller. And with each exhale, a little bit more twist, maybe if it's just a centimeter. But what we don't want to do is twist ourselves to the point where we start collapsing our spine into that twist. I've got one hand behind me as a support here again. And gently release. And we'll switch sides. Have that block if you need it. And again, starting with just a hand to the foot, the other hand behind as a brace. Big circles for that hip, circling both directions. I think my hips are feeling okay. I'll take that foot into the crease of my elbow. Be sure to switch directions for your circles if you haven't already. And we'll take a seated twist. So you'll notice when I get myself aligned here, I'm placing the foot down on the top side of the knee. This sit bone does swing up quite a bit, so I'll then re-ground and let that sit bone sink itself back down. And then settle into the twist. The whole time here, I'm consciously pulling this knee in towards my chest. Still sitting as tall as possible. And with each exhale, we soften a little bit. And gently release and unwind. We'll come to lie down on our back. Start with the knees in towards the chest. And both arms out to the side. So we want both arms going wide from one another. These are going to be our braces and our supports here. So with our legs lifted, let's start with knees at a 90-degree angle. The tendency here will be to bring the knees into the chest because it'll be a little bit easier. So for your lower core, your lower belly, the more engagement comes from having this stacked knees above the hips here at 90 degrees. Experiment with that right now. I want you to feel the difference between having this knee and hip stack versus drawing the knees in towards the chest. It becomes quite a bit easier. So if at any point this position is too much strain and you feel your lower back arching, so you could slide your hand underneath, then you can bring the knees in slightly to the chest. but only to the point where you can maintain a lower back flat connection with the mat. So our goal is to have 90 degrees, 90 degrees, okay? But your modification will be gently drawing the knees in, keeping 90 degrees here, and lower back flat on the mat. So arms are out to the side. What we're gonna do is take both knees together, maintaining the same angles, tip them to the right side, and tap to the ground, draw them back up. And then we'll take them together to the left side, and tap, and draw back up. So we'll do this several times on each side, still focusing on when we bring the knees up to the center, lower back flat, and 90 degrees, 90 degrees, okay? So we're getting a twist and strength building here for the core. Ooh, and I just got a little pop adjustment for my back. Let's try for 5 on each side. This is a great move to add into a regular mobility routine. As you get more confident with the move, a modification would be to send the legs straight and take the same sort of tick-tock motion. It's quite a bit more difficult. Extending that lever of your legs makes them a lot heavier. So you can give that a try if you want. Otherwise, I encourage you to start with the knees bent 90 and 90. Okay, let's rock ourselves up to a Navasana, a boat pose. So draw the knees in, and I'm going to take my time rocking and rolling a couple times forward and back, just because it feels good on my back. And then we'll get up to a modification, a variation of boat pose. Lots of options here. So we can start with toes resting on the mat, hands hooked behind the knees, drawing the chest and the heart forward, lifting the gaze slightly, but we want to keep our neck, our cervical spine here neutral with the rest of our back. So what we don't want is craning up like this, okay? Think about tucking the chin into the chest here, not clamping it down, but we don't want our chin stuck way out here. So draw that chin in like we're being lifted up by our messy bun here on the top of our head. We can extend from here by lifting the toes off of the mat. We can lift shins to parallel. We could lift the legs all the way, and the most extended version is to release the hands. That doesn't really serve me right now, so I'm going to keep my toes just barely resting on the ground and send the arms forward. Now what we'll try for here is some twisting. So give this variation a try first, and if you decide that this is okay and it's pretty accessible for you, then you can experiment with lifting the legs, but try this version first with the arms extended out front, interlace the fingers together, and we're gonna twist side to side. So it's like a yoga version of a Russian twist. Now really think about what's happening with the muscles here as you twist. We're still lifting the chest forward, so not rounding, collapsing the back, and we want to feel all of these muscles contracting, deepening our twist. We'll try again for 5 on each side. Thinking nice and tall and long out of that spine. Lifting the chest and the heart best as you can. I forgot to count. So 1 more on each side feels good. And then we'll roll down onto our backs. Take a break, a full body stretch. A few deep breaths. Feeling all of these muscles of your core untwisting and I guess releasing is the word I'm looking for. Feel them releasing. Now we'll take another little sort of twist here from laying down on our back. I'm kind of wiggle my feet out to the sides a little bit. So my feet are about as wide as the mat now, and arms out to the side again. So human starfish pose. And I will take opposite hand to opposite leg to get a cross body crunch and a little bit of twist for the core. So my right hand, I'm going to lift the arm and the shoulder, lift my head, at the same time lift the left foot. Maybe you can make a connection between the right hand and the left leg. If not, you're just reaching towards making that connection, and then lower all the way down, and the opposite side. Left hand reaches up towards the right leg. 5 on each side. Be sure to lower yourself all the way down to the center first, and try matching the movement with an exhale on the way up. We're contracting the core, exhaling, and inhaling on the way down. I'm not sure if this is the type of warrior training that Pema Chodron was thinking of, but I like to envision this as my warrior training, learning to get comfortable in these challenging strength building poses. Come here, Hair Bear. Come here. One more on each side. Hair Bear. Come here, buddy. And then we'll take a rest. Come here, kitty. There he is. Hi, buddy. Now when you take these resting poses in between those core power builder moves, you can rest any way that feels good. Personally, I like these full body stretches, arms overhead pointing the toes. And as you breathe, just that motion of expanding the diaphragm and contracting, you can feel the other core muscles stretching themselves out. Come here, buddy. Okay, now we're going to come up to seated and just roll up over your knees to a tabletop position here. Come here, buddy. Tabletop. So we're stacking wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and we'll get our wrists warmed up just a tiny bit before we start doing some more intense core twisting stuff here. So if you've taken some of my classes before, you know some of the options that I like for warming up the wrists. You can do whatever feels good and natural for you, but I'll show you my favorite is just sort of rocking back and forth here, forward and back. When we rock forward, we're really stretching out the underside of our forearm. And I'll keep this forward and back rocking motion, and all I'm going to do is flip the back of one hand down on the mat and still rock. And then I'll switch hands. Some of the other wrist warm-ups you could be doing right now are just sitting back on your hips and interlace the fingers together and roll your wrists around in circles several times both directions. That's another great one. Okay, and we'll have both palms face down again, rocking forward and back. Now for good measure, let's also get a few scapular push-ups in here, the protraction and retraction of our shoulders. So find your neutral tabletop, draw your belly into your chest. It should be nice and firm here, no dip in the lower back. We'll keep the arms, the elbows straight as they are, and bring the chest down. Shoulder blades come together on the back, and then press into the hands. Lift the thoracic spine, your rib cage, upward, separating the shoulder blades now. Now ideally what we don't do is arch and round the lower back, so the back should stay nice and flat. The only movement is around our shoulder blades. Elevating, lifting, this is the protraction, and then depressing, coming down, this is retraction. We'll give it one or two more. Really good. So now we've got awareness for our shoulders, a little bit of warmth in our wrists. Let's take it up to a downward facing dog. Pedal your feet a couple times just so you can arrive into your pose here. And now shift the shoulders forward so they come above the wrists. Bring those hips down to a high plank. And we're going to rock ourselves side to side for a couple side planks. So ideally we're taking both heels together to the left side and rolling now the right arm and shoulder up. Your modifications could be lowering left knee, pivoting the back foot down, and then lifting up. Roll that shoulder down, lower the hand, step that foot back, and the same on the other side. So you can absolutely do this with a knee down. I encourage you to try it with both knees lifted. And we're just going to rock back and forth a couple times. It's a pretty big, powerful move here. And now back to center. If you need a break here, you can take it back to downward facing dog, and you always have the option to take it down to a child's pose, especially to alleviate that strain on the wrist. But we do want to build some power and some strength here, so we practice our warrior training. Are we in pain or are we just uncomfortable here? Let's rock to the side again, preparing for a side plank. We're going to hold a little bit longer here. So remember, if you need, that bottom knee can come down. With this top arm, we're going to wrap it down underneath our lower side body. So this is my left side, and I'm hugging this hand as far as I can onto my back side body. My top shoulder is actually rolling down towards the mat now, and hold. We'll release and lift back up. And one more. Instead of focusing here on the things that are difficult, focus on your breath. Focus on your left hand pressing into the mat, the sensations of your feet pressing into the mat, and release, and roll it back down. Let's try to go right away to the other side. So get yourself set and stacked. Left arm lifting up, and then rolling left shoulder down, wrapping the hand as far as you can onto the backside body. Keep those hips nice and high. And release, bring it up. And take it back down. And release. And now roll that left hand down. Let's all take downward facing dog. Restorative breath. Okay, we've got a lot of blood flowing in our arms now. Let's keep moving here with this momentum. Bring it forward, supported high plank. So you can test your alignment here. If you were to lift the knees, your hips stay exactly where they are. We've just lowered the knees down. Notice it's not tabletop here. So try to bring those hips down and forward. Keep the stack of the shoulder above the wrist. We'll take our micro baby chaturangas. You guys know I love those. So fingertips facing forward, sort of, I call it wrapping the triceps, but what people tend to do when I cue that is they actually turn the fingers outward as well. So instead, keep those fingers pointing forward without moving your hands. So just mind muscle connection here. See if you can turn the inside part of your elbow to face forward. So some people will have more flexible joints than others. It would be a little bit easier to attain that, but we just try for that feeling of pressing the inside elbows forward. Now our triceps are gonna stay really close to the side body, and we'll lower down 2 inches, micro baby chaturanga, and hold. Really glue those elbows to the side of the body. Keep pressing even weight all through the points of contact of your hands, and press back up. We'll go for 5 of these. You can lower down and hold for as long as you want. You can lower down further if you want. Please not past 90 degrees with your elbows. And try to keep that belly really engaged and no dip in the lower back. So this is 3 for me. Press back up. And 4. I'm shaky, my arms are really tired already. Okay. And then 1 more. Strongest one so far. All right. Now take your hips all the way forward, lowering hips and rib cage down. Take the hands wide of the mat, pressing onto fingertips. You can use the palms flat on the ground here, but lifting the fingertips is going to give you, lifting the palm, pressing onto the fingertips will give you a little bit more range of motion here in a moment. So just take yourself up and down a couple times. So big inhale, press a lot of your body weight into your hands. Exhale and lower down. This is not about engaging the lower back to lift. It's about pressing into your hands and your arms to lift. And now after an inhale, what we'll do is tip the left shoulder down towards the mat. Keep both elbows lifted really high. And then lift the left shoulder. Tip the right shoulder down, gaze towards the left hand. Couple times. This is a really, really good shoulder stretch. Little twist for thoracic and cervical spine, your rib cage and your neck. So again, we tip the left shoulder down, we look towards the right hand, keep both elbows high. And again, tipping right shoulder down, look towards the left hand. Okay, release the hands, draw them back in. We'll meet in a downward facing dog. I'm gonna press myself up through a plank to build more upper body strength here. Okay, downward facing dog. Lift, extend the right leg behind you and shift yourself forward. Draw the right knee in, step the right foot through to the top of the mat. Lift up right away to a warrior 2. So that's the left heel pivot down, the right foot facing forward. Imaginary line traces from the right heel to the inside of that back arch of your foot. So our warrior 2 here. And we're going to pivot back and forth a couple times between a warrior 2 and a twisted warrior. So what that will look like is keeping the right knee bent here the whole time. We'll start with arms extended, pivot forward from that back foot. So now hips are facing forward, and we're going to switch the arms. So sort of just cartwheel the arms around. So now we're twisted. From here you can take a reverse twisted warrior as well. So right hand comes to back of the left leg. The left arm reaches up overhead, and then we're going to cartwheel back, pivot the left heel down, our warrior 2. Okay, so pivot again, cartwheeling, or almost like helicopter blade those arms around. Take the reverse if you like it, and then back, warrior 2. Let's do one more time. Twist and reverse, because it feels oh so good. For our spine up here, rib cage opening, gazing over the right shoulder towards the back of the mat now. Now keep the bend in the right knee. You can challenge yourself to sink down a little bit more, really building strength in this front leg. Pivot to face the hips forward. Take the right arm underneath the left. Eagle arms, if you can, palms together is lovely. Otherwise, the backs of the hands together is okay. And now we're lifting up here. The higher you lift your elbows, the more release you get on the backside body, the more benefit from a tighter twist in your hands. Remember your warrior training. Sit with these sensations in your body right now. I'm feeling my right thigh on fire, but that means it's getting stronger. So it's okay to feel those sensations. It's working really, really hard, but only for our benefit right now. Okay, start to hinge yourself forward here. We'll bring our torso down inside of the right foot. So we're not collapsing our chest onto the right thigh. We're taking it down inside. Let your head hang down. Then release the hands, the left hand to the inside of the right foot, and draw the right arm up. Now, still keeping the bend in the right knee, press down into both feet. Keep the angle of the arms the same. We're just going to cartwheel ourselves up. Take both hands forward now, folding down, place them down at the top of the mat. Woo, take that right leg back, give it a break. Holy cow, that was a good one. Now just let that right leg sort of wobble around, feeling all those big muscles of the thigh releasing. I'm gonna take a few twists here with my legs. So I'm taking the right leg behind the left, placing the toes down, bending both knees. And then I'm gonna take the right leg in front of the left, placing the right toes down, bend the knees again. Okay, downward facing dog. Lift, extend the left leg behind you. And shift forward, round the back, draw that left knee in, place the foot down, come up to our warrior two. Check your alignment as you need to. And we'll get ready to pivot ourselves around a couple times, keeping this left leg engaged and working, growing stronger, even though it's really hard and challenging. Okay, so we're gonna pivot the hips forward, lifting that back foot, the back heel, and we'll swing the arms around. Now looking to the left side, take that reverse, see how it feels, and then pivot back. Warrior two, the right heel comes down. And again. Nice twist, also nice release for the right hip flexor. Two more times. Okay, now we're gonna pivot ourselves forward, lifting the arms up, and we'll cross the arms the opposite way. So left arm underneath, I think. Just do whatever the opposite is from the first side. And again, lifting the elbows up nice and high, lifting the gaze slightly. Feel those shoulders opening up. Press your hands, either the palms together or the backs of the hands together, even harder. And then bring the torso down, inside of the left leg. Release the twist of the hands. Plant the right hand down. Lift that left arm up. Still keeping the bend in the left knee. We're getting ourselves ready to take a little break. You can do it. Pressing into both feet. Cartwheeling back to that twisted warrior. We'll face the hips forward. Place the hands down. And take that left leg back. Woo, give it a break. That's a thigh burner for sure. So again, twisting, crossing my legs, bending my knees. It feels good. Sometimes to get a little compression, so that back or top knee, when they press together on some of those big muscles in your thighs and your quads can help release some of those intense sensations. Okay, and downward facing dog. Now from here, let's baby steps walk our feet up to the top of the mat. Just one last nice twisting move here before we start to cool ourselves down. So our feet are at the top of the mat. Forward folding. Take just a moment to ragdoll the upper body. Notice I've got a pretty significant bend in my knees here. Just let the upper body hang. Head hangs down. Now direct your gaze to your feet. Lift up all of your toes, spread them out a little bit. See if you can press the pinky toe down, the big toe down, and then all of the little toes in between. So we've got a nice wide base here. Draw your belly in towards your spine. Squeeze your glutes together a little bit so the hamstrings are nice and active. And we'll press ourselves all the way up. Now, take an inhale, lift both arms overhead. Start to shift your weight to your right foot. The left leg starts to lift. We're going to cross the left leg on top of the right, either taking the toe out to the side, the left toes out to the right side, or if it serves you more, hooking the toes all the way around behind the right calf. Doesn't really serve me. I don't like that feeling for my knee, so I'm going to keep this lower leg pointed out to the side. It's also great to have this out to the side. If you start to lose your balance, you have your kickstand right there. So arms are lifted. Then we're going to cross the left arm underneath the right. So eagle pose. Lots of twisty and compression here. We like it. Think about zipping, gluing your thighs together. Lifting those elbows and hands again. And bend your knees, sit down a little bit more. Keep your upper body nice and upright. We don't want here with the butt sticking way out. Bend the knees a little bit more, sit down a little bit more, upper body back, lift the elbows a little bit more. And then big release, press into the right foot and lift. Inhale, release the arms, shift the weight to the left foot. Cross that right leg over. And now crossing the right arm under. And sinking down, bending the knees. Glue those thighs together, like squeezing them tight as you can. The tighter you squeeze your legs together, the stronger you can balance. And then lifting the elbows. Body nice and upright. Gaze forward. Bend the knees a little bit more. Lift the elbows. Draw that belly in. And nice and gentle release. Straighten the standing leg. Whew, nice and sweaty now. Let's come to sit down on the mat. Or fall. Lie down on the back. Knees in together here. Rocking. Rolling just a little bit. Now we'll take similar twist in the legs as we take a reclined twist here. So lift both legs, cross the right on top of the left. Here I think it's okay if you want to reach for that hooking the toes behind the calf here. Arms out to the side, and we're going to take the legs together to the left side. Opportunity here to put blocks underneath your knees. You might find that having this twist in the legs, when you twist here, it gives you a deeper release for your lower back. Right arm to the right side. And gaze over that right shoulder. Acknowledge your heart rate slowing down. Your breathing returning to normal. Your body temperature cooling down. Maybe even some sweat, your sweat starting to dry. Especially after a class like that with twisting, we're stimulating almost all of our chakras at the same time. Can stimulate and produce a lot of energy. So this cool down, just really make sure you're taking your time and you're honoring the process of slowing down and cooling down. Breathing nice and deep, feeling yourself surrender and relax into your mat. Let's bring the knees back up. And we'll untwist. Twist the other way, so left leg on top. Try for that hook. And now I'm going to actually lift my hips up and swing them a tiny bit to the left side of the mat. Lets me get an even deeper twist to the right here. And now left arm to the left, gaze over that left side. Breathing deep in these twists here. We're stimulating our diaphragm in a different way. We're making it work a little bit more than usual. So oftentimes the effect is just better breathing, deeper breathing. Come here, babe. And we'll bring those knees back up to center. Release that nice twist. Take another full body stretch here. Arms overhead, legs extended. Point the toes. So yawn or sigh if you feel it. Keep that full body extension and wiggle your feet together to the right corner of the mat. And also send your hands over to the right corner. Take the right hand fingers and grip onto the left wrist and gently pull that left wrist over to the right side. Still pointing those toes so we get really, really nice release of the whole left side. And then release back to center. And wiggle, wiggle. Feet to the left corner. Arms over to the left corner. Gently pulling on that right wrist. And then release. Totally not even on my mat right now. Option here to take a happy baby if it serves you, or just prepare yourself for Shavasana, final resting. Observe your Shavasana with eyes closed. And start by being hyper observant and aware of the sensations of your body resting on the mat. See if you can actually notice and feel your heartbeat in your chest. Keep that focus inward. And we try to eliminate distractions around us. Again, that's part of that warrior training. Keep your breath moving through the nose. Arms are resting at your side with the palms facing up. Let the palms of your hands feel soft, almost so that your fingers curl inward. Feel the same softness in the soles of your feet. You and your belly is soft. And while you finish out your Shavasana, I'll share the rest of this reading with you from Pema Chodron. And then I encourage you to stay in your Shavasana as long as it serves you, as you feel comfortable. So with your eyes closed still, just listen. Ordinarily, we are swept away by habitual momentum. We don't interrupt our patterns even slightly. With practice, however, we learn to stay with a broken heart, with a nameless fear, with a desire for revenge. Sticking with uncertainty is how we learn to relax in the midst of chaos. How we learn to be cool when the ground beneath us suddenly disappears. We can bring ourselves back to the spiritual path countless times every day, simply by exercising our willingness to rest in the uncertainty of the present moment over and over again. Whenever you're done with your Shavasana, be gentle with yourself as you come up out of it. Take a few moments in a comfortable seated position to reflect on the class, the feelings, the sensations, emotions that arose for you. And just sit with whatever those emotions are. Try not to run away from the insecurities. Try not to run away from the discomfort or feeling like you didn't really know how to do some of the poses. Just sit with those feelings for a moment. Examine them. The more we practice sitting with those feelings, over time, the less intense those feelings will become. I also encourage you at the end of your practice to have a few moments of gratitude, feeling grateful for your bodies, grateful for this practice, and I'm so grateful for you taking an hour to practice with me today. Namaste.